11 o'clock appointment with Mr. Gallagher of Personnel. 1 o'clock luncheon with a representative of the Blakeboro Paper Company.
You knew about Marilyn Monroe's death was a lie. For over 60 years, the world believed that Hollywood's most beautiful star died alone in her bedroom from an accidental overdose. But Frank Sinatra, one of her closest friends, refused to accept that story. Before he passed away, Sinatra revealed shocking secrets that changed everything we thought we knew about that tragic night in August 1962. What did he discover? And why did he spend years investigating the death of his dear friend? Stay with me, because what I'm about to share will leave you absolutely stunned. Let me take you back to a time when Marilyn Monroe was the most famous woman in the world. Her smile could light up a room. Her voice made men weak in the knees, and her movies broke box office records. But behind that gorgeous smile and those sparkling eyes was a woman who had suffered more pain than most people could imagine. And Frank Sinatra knew that better than anyone. Marilyn wasn't always the glamorous movie star we remember today. She was born as Norma Jean Mortensen on June 1, 1926. Her childhood was nothing like the fairy tales she would later star in. Her mother, Gladys, struggled to take care of her, and young Marilyn was passed around from one foster home to another like an unwanted package. Can you imagine being a little girl, never knowing where you'd sleep next week, or who would take care of you? That was Marilyn's reality. When Marilyn was just 7 years old, something terrible happened. Her mother had a complete mental breakdown and had to be placed in a hospital. Little Marilyn suddenly had no one. She became what they called a ward of the state, which is a fancy way of saying she belonged to the government because she had no parents to care for her. A family friend named Grace Goddard tried to help, but even that wasn't stable. For the next 4 years, Marilyn niced from house to house, sometimes even staying in an orphanage. The constant moving made her develop a stutter, and she became painfully shy. Movies became her escape from this sad reality. When she sat in those dark theaters watching beautiful actresses on the big screen, she could forget about her troubled life for a little while. She started dreaming that maybe one day she could be up there too, living in a world of glamour and happiness instead of the chaos that surrounded her. When Marilyn was just 16 years old, something happened that changed her life completely. Grace Goddard's husband got a new job far away, and they couldn't take Marilyn with them because of certain laws about taking care of children. Marilyn was terrified of going back to the orphanage, so she made a choice that seems crazy for such a young girl. She married her neighbor, a 21-year-old man named James Doherty, in June 1942. Just like that, she went from being a high school student to being someone's wife. But marriage wasn't the exciting adventure Marilyn had hoped for. She found herself bored and unfulfilled, stuck at home while her husband was away. Then in 1944, something magical happened. Marilyn was working at a factory that made ammunition during the war, when a photographer named David Conover came to take pictures of women helping with the war effort. When he saw Marilyn, he couldn't believe how beautiful she was. Even though her pictures didn't end up being used for what he originally planned, Conover saw something special in her. This chance meeting opened a door that would change Marilyn's life forever. She started modeling, and she was good at it. Really good. She transformed herself, dyeing her hair platinum blonde and learning how to work the camera. By early 1946, she had appeared on 33 magazine covers. Can you believe that? 33 covers in just over a year. People couldn't get enough of her. Her modeling success led to something even bigger. In August 1946, she signed a contract with 20th Century Fox, and that's when Norma Jean officially became Marilyn Monroe. The name came from a Broadway star named Marilyn Miller, and her mother's maiden name, Monroe. A new star was about to be born, and the world had no idea what was coming. But Hollywood wasn't easy, even for someone as beautiful as Marilyn. The studio dropped her contract after less than a year. Then another studio, Columbia Pictures, signed her only to drop her too. Imagine working so hard for your dreams and having people keep telling you that you're not good enough. It would crush most people. But not Marilyn. She kept fighting, kept studying, kept improving her craft. Her big break finally came when she met Johnny Hyde, a powerful agent who believed in her talent. He helped her get small roles in important movies, and people started noticing her. Even though she was only on screen for a few minutes, audiences couldn't take their eyes off her. Tragically, Johnny died suddenly in 1950, but by then, Marilyn's career was starting to take off. By 1952, Marilyn Monroe was becoming a household name. The Army newspaper called her Miss Cheesecake because soldiers loved her so much. She won awards for being the best young star, and she started dating the famous baseball player Joe DiMaggio, which made headlines everywhere. But then something happened that could have destroyed her career. News came out that she had posed nude for a calendar back when she desperately needed money. Instead of hiding from the scandal, Marilyn did something brave. She told the truth. She admitted she needed the money and wasn't ashamed. People loved her honesty, and instead of hurting her career, it made her even more popular. The movies that made Marilyn a superstar came rapid fire. There was Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, where she sang that famous song about diamonds being a girl's best friend. Then How to Marry a Millionaire, which was a huge box office hit. And of course, The 7-Year Itch, with that iconic scene where her white dress blows up over a subway grate. That moment became one of the most famous images in movie history. But success came with a price. Marilyn struggled with anxiety and depression. She started relying on medications to help her sleep and to calm her nerves. She had trouble showing up to movie sets on time, and she clashed with directors. Some people in Hollywood started calling her difficult. What they didn't understand was that she was fighting battles inside herself that nobody could see. Her marriage to Joe DiMaggio seemed perfect from the outside. America's most beautiful actress married to America's greatest baseball hero. It was like a fairy tale. But behind closed doors, things were falling apart. Joe was jealous and possessive. He didn't like the way Hollywood showed off Marilyn's body and beauty. That famous scene with the dress blowing up? Joe hated it. They fought constantly, and by November 1954, barely 9 months after their wedding, Marilyn filed for divorce. After her divorce, Marilyn did something bold. She started her own production company and moved to New York to study serious acting. She wanted people to see that she was more than just a pretty face. She worked with some of the best acting teachers in the world, studying the craft like a serious artist. In 1956, she married again, this time to a brilliant playwright named Arthur Miller. People thought Miller, with his intelligence and serious reputation, would be good for Marilyn. Her movies during this time showed her range as an actress. Bus Stop proved she could do drama. The Prince and the Showgirl let her work with one of the greatest actors of all time, Laurence Olivier. And Some Like It Hot became an instant classic that people still love today. She won a Golden Globe for that one, showing everyone that she truly was a talented actress, not just a beautiful woman. But by the early 1960s, everything was falling apart. Her marriage to Arthur Miller was crumbling. He had fallen in love with someone else, and they divorced in June 1961. Marilyn's health, both physical and mental, was getting worse. She was hospitalized for depression. The medications she was taking were becoming a serious problem. And the studio that made her a star, 20th Century Fox, fired her from her last movie in June 1962 because she kept missing work due to her health issues. This is where Frank Sinatra comes into the story in a big way. Sinatra was one of the biggest stars in the world, a legendary singer and actor who knew everyone who mattered in Hollywood. He and Marilyn had known each other for years, and according to people close to Sinatra, they had a special friendship built on trust and understanding. Sinatra saw past the movie star image to the vulnerable, hurting woman underneath. Marilyn trusted him with her deepest secrets. During this troubled time in her life, Marilyn confided in Sinatra about her relationships with two of the most powerful men in America, President John F. Kennedy and his brother, Attorney General Robert Kennedy. These weren't just rumors or gossip. According to Sinatra's close friend Tony Opedisano, who later wrote a book about Sinatra's life, Marilyn had actual affairs with both Kennedy brothers. When these relationships suddenly ended and both men stopped taking her calls, Marilyn was confused and heartbroken. She couldn't understand why they had cut her off so completely and coldly. The weekend before Marilyn died, something significant happened that most people don't know about. She stayed at a place called Cal Neva Lodge near Lake Tahoe, which was partly owned by Sinatra. She wasn't there for a vacation. She was there because she had a plan. Marilyn was going to hold a press conference the following week where she would announce that she was getting back together with her ex-husband, Joe DiMaggio. They had stayed close friends after their divorce, and there was talk that they might give their marriage another try. But this press conference terrified some very powerful people. Why? Because if Marilyn stood in front of reporters and started talking about her life, she might reveal her affairs with the Kennedy brothers. Even a hint of such a scandal could destroy President Kennedy's reputation and ruin his chances of being re-elected. According to what Sinatra later believed, this press conference made Marilyn a dangerous threat to people who would do anything to protect their power. Sinatra always believed that if Marilyn had never planned that press conference, she might still be alive today. He thought the announcement drew dangerous attention to her from people who saw her as a problem that needed to be solved. On the night of August 4, 1962, something terrible happened in Marilyn's home in the Brentwood neighborhood of Los Angeles. Her housekeeper, Eunice Murray, was staying overnight. Around 3 in the morning, Eunice got worried because Marilyn's bedroom door was locked and she couldn't get any response when she knocked. She called Marilyn's psychiatrist, Dr. Ralph Greenson, who rushed over. When he couldn't get Marilyn to answer either, he broke a window to get into her room. What he found was devastating. Marilyn Monroe, only 36 years old, was lying dead on her bed. The official report said that Marilyn died from an overdose of barbiturates, which are strong sleeping pills. The bottles were found empty near her bed. The levels of drugs in her system were so high that investigators ruled out an accidental overdose. The official conclusion was that Marilyn probably took her own life. The news shocked the entire world. Headlines screamed the tragic story across America and Europe. Thousands of people gathered outside the cemetery for her funeral, wanting to say goodbye to the woman who had brought so much beauty and joy to their lives. But Frank S. Sinatra never believed the official story, not for 1 second. And he wasn't alone. Many people close to Marilyn found the circumstances of her death suspicious. But Sinatra went further than just having doubts. He became convinced that his friend had been murdered. After Marilyn's death, Sinatra's lawyer, Mickey Rudin, came to him with a disturbing rumor. He had heard that Marilyn might have been murdered using a barbiturate suppository, which is a way of giving someone drugs without them swallowing pills. This method would explain why there were such high levels of drugs in her body, but no evidence of the pills in her stomach. Sinatra started digging deeper, talking to people who might know the truth. Some of the people Sinatra talked to were connected to organized crime. A powerful mob boss from Chicago named Sam Giancana hinted that someone linked to both the Kennedys and Sinatra himself might have been involved. A Los Angeles mobster named Johnny Roselli told Sinatra privately that he believed Marilyn had been silenced to protect the Kennedy family's reputation. These conversations convinced Sinatra that something much darker than suicide had happened that night. According to Tony Opedisano, who knew Sinatra better than almost anyone in his final years, Sinatra developed a specific theory about what really happened. He believed that Robert Kennedy, the president's brother and the attorney general, along with powerful labor leader Jimmy Hoffa, had arranged for Marilyn to be killed. Sinatra thought they saw Marilyn as a threat who knew too much and might reveal secrets that would destroy the Kennedy family's political power. He believed they arranged for someone to give Marilyn a lethal injection while she was unconscious, making it look like she had taken the pills herself. In Sinatra's mind, the timing made perfect sense. Marilyn was planning to announce her reconciliation with Joe DiMaggio, which would put her back in the spotlight. Once she was getting that much attention, she might reveal her relationships with both Kennedy brothers. Such a revelation would have been a political nuclear bomb. President Kennedy's carefully crafted public image as a devoted family man would be destroyed. His chances of winning re-election would disappear. The entire Kennedy political dynasty could crumble. Sinatra also suspected that corrupt officials, including possibly someone in the medical examiner's office, had been involved in covering up the truth. He believed the mafia might have played a role in arranging everything, possibly in exchange for political favors from the Kennedys. The more Sinatra investigated, the more he saw connections and conspiracies everywhere. Frank Sinatra didn't just talk about his suspicions, he took action. For years after Marilyn's death, he hired private detectives to investigate what really happened that night. He had them look through her phone records, trying to figure out who she had talked to in her final days. He reviewed her medical reports, looking for anything that didn't add up. He spent his own money and used his connections to try to uncover evidence that would prove his friend had been murdered. Sinatra even suspected the Los Angeles Police Department of being involved in a cover-up. He believed they had deliberately labeled her death as an accidental overdose or probable suicide to hide the truth about what really happened. In his view, powerful people from every level of society, from Hollywood's biggest stars to Washington's top politicians to the criminal underworld, all had reasons to keep the truth buried. The dedication Sinatra showed to finding the truth revealed how much Marilyn meant to him. She wasn't just another Hollywood friend or a casual acquaintance. She was someone he truly cared about, someone he felt he needed to protect even after her death. He couldn't let her memory be dismissed as just another tragic Hollywood story. He needed people to know that she might have been murdered, that her death might have been a carefully planned assassination rather than a sad suicide. Sinatra carried this burden for the rest of his life. He held lasting anger and resentment toward the people he blamed for Marilyn's death. That included the Kennedy family, whom he had once been close to. It included Jimmy Hoffa and the mob figures he believed had played a role. And it included anyone in the police department or medical examiner's office who he thought had helped cover up the truth. Tony Opedisano shared these revelations in his memoir years after Sinatra's death. He felt that the world deserved to know what Sinatra truly believed about Marilyn Monroe's death. According to Opedisano, Sinatra was absolutely certain that his friend had not killed herself. He believed with all his heart that powerful forces had decided she was too dangerous to live and had arranged her murder in a way that would look like suicide or an accidental overdose. Now, it's important to say that Sinatra's theories have never been proven. Official investigations, including a thorough review in 1982 by the Los Angeles County District Attorney, found no evidence of foul play. The official conclusion remains that Marilyn Monroe died from a probable suicide caused by an overdose of barbiturates. No evidence has ever been found to support the claims of murder or conspiracy, despite decades of investigation by both official authorities and private researchers. But the questions remain. Why was Marilyn's bedroom door locked from the inside if someone else gave her the drugs? Why did the timeline of events that night seem confusing, with different people giving different accounts of when things happened? Why did some of her personal papers and her diary disappear after her death? These mysteries have kept conspiracy theories alive for more than 60 years. What we do know for certain is that Marilyn Monroe lived a life of incredible highs and devastating lows. She overcame a childhood of poverty and abandonment to become the biggest movie star in the world. She proved that she was a talented actress, not just a beautiful face. She won the love of millions of fans who saw something special in her smile and her vulnerability. But she also struggled with demons that Hollywood's glamour couldn't hide. She battled depression, anxiety, and addiction. She experienced failed marriages and broken relationships. And in the end, whether by her own hand or someone else's, she died far too young. Frank Sinatra's revelations remind us that there might be more to Marilyn's story than we'll ever know. His dedication to investigating her death shows us how much she meant to the people who truly knew her, not just the image she projected on screen. And his unwillingness to accept the official story challenges us to question whether the truth about that tragic night in August 1962 will ever fully come to light. Marilyn Monroe left behind an incredible legacy. Her movies continue to entertain new generations. Her image remains one of the most recognizable in the world. Her story continues to fascinate people more than 6 decades after her death. And thanks to Frank Sinatra's courage in speaking out about what he believed really happened, the conversation about her final days continues to this day. Whether you believe Sinatra's theories or accept the official explanation, one thing is undeniable. Marilyn Monroe deserved better than the tragic end she received. She deserved to live a long, happy life. She deserved to find the peace and stability that eluded her throughout her troubled years. And she deserved to be remembered not just as a tragic Hollywood cautionary tale, but as a talented, complex woman who fought against incredible odds to achieve her dreams. So what do you think? Was Frank Sinatra right? Was Marilyn Monroe murdered by powerful people who saw her as a threat? Or did she tragically take her own life, overwhelmed by the pressures of fame and her personal struggles? The truth may never be fully known, but the questions Sinatra raised ensure that Marilyn's story will never be forgotten. If this video opened your eyes to secrets you never knew about Marilyn Monroe's death, please hit that like button right now. Share this video with anyone who loves Hollywood history or true crime mysteries. And make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you never miss our deep dives into the shocking truths behind the stories that shaped our world. Your support helps us continue bringing you the untold stories that everyone deserves to hear. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.